Welcome in, best ball fans, to another edition of In the Room, presented by SportsEthos, where you get to join me, your host, Anthony Quaranta, and guest host today, Brian Shade, in the draft room, in the war room, drafting some best ball teams today. You can follow me on Twitter at AQFresh. You can follow him on Twitter at Shade_Fantasy. Brian, I'll toss it over to you. Any trivia today for me? Surprise trivia to open the show.
I didn't plan anything today.
No, I thought that was fun. I was hoping that you were going to give me something again today, but that's okay.
I don't have anything off the top of my head. I did not plan. That is my fault. I will come next time.
You come prepared next time.
Yes.
That's okay. You had a little short notice. We just recorded on Thursday, and here we are again today, which is a little surprise episode. Had some free time, so figured why not. Brian, you were going to go ahead and try to join in again this time. Maybe it'll work. We had some, I think it was location issues with Underdog on your computer as well as mine initially.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably just do it from my phone, but hopefully my tapping doesn't bother anyone.
No, I think we'll be okay. Did we decide what contest we were going to do? Did you,
I'm down for the clock.
Okay, let's do that. The advancement structure is really fun. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the board. Yeah, I like the advancement structure. So it's the top 1 out of 12 makes it to the playoffs, and then weeks 15 and week 16 are essentially head-to-head, and then it's a 100-seat final. So I just think that that's such a fun advancement structure, especially if you make it to the playoffs. It's just 50-50.
Does that change your strategy at all going into it?
Not really, because you still have to get there. I just think it makes for a more fun sweat for the playoffs, knowing that, you just have to beat one other person instead of, 5, 6, 7, 10 other people in a given week.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So are you ready to hit enter? You ready to get in the room? All right. All right. 3, 2, 1, enter, confirm. No issues this time. We might be the first 2 people in.
I'm in a league. So it looks like I might have got in before.
Oh, are you starting?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Oh, so you got in. You were the last one in a room. Okay, that's fun. Are you on your laptop or on your phone?
I'm on my phone, unfortunately.
Oh, I was going to say we can unshare my screen and share yours and see how this goes if you want to try to get on your laptop.
I can attempt it.
Until then, I'm...
Actually, no, I can't. I got locked out because I tried too many times for my password.
No, that's a bummer. What pick do you have?
12.
Oh, that'll be interesting. You'll have to balance 2 drafts.
Makes life easier, honestly, though, for this at least.
Yeah, you'll have to balance 2 drafts and a podcast, and we can definitely talk about your team afterwards too. I'm excited to see how that turns out. We're still waiting for 9. I'm going to switch over and do a little Dalmatian then, because I think that'll fill a lot quicker. Because people want to get those in before it opened up yesterday, and it's going to close by the end of the day today.
What do you think? Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, it's already at 92%, and I only have 2 entries left, and I want to make sure I get them in. So, yeah, this is going to fill within a couple seconds. I'm waiting on 3. Did your draft start yet?
It did. 6 picks in, 7 picks in. It was Jamar, Bijan, Gibbs, Barkley. So 3 running backs pretty early.
Yeah.
CD, then Jefferson.
Okay.
Then McCaffrey at 8. Neighbors is pushing up.
He is. I think with some of the injuries that we're starting to see, although he is also kind of injured, I guess. I guess people just love the talent. I'm trying to get 20% Neighbors, so I'm not going to be upset about it. My draft's going to start in about 30 seconds, and I have the second pick. I had the second pick with you, I think, when we first streamed, and we were talking about Bijan and how I was going to go Bijan. I was happy about it, and then all of a sudden, Saquon Barkley went 101, so I ended up with a nice little Jamar Chase at 102. So we'll see if that happens again. Who did you end up picking in your draft?
So I didn't like it, but I went A-Chain and Brian Thomas Jr.
Okay. Did you hear? We should have talked about this pre-show. A-Chain, I think, just
Injury.
sustained an injury where it's going to keep
Yeah.
him out from days to weeks. Oh, you did hear that?
Yeah, which is why I didn't.
Okay,
I'm
so
not
you're
happy about that pick, but it is what it is.
Oh, that's the part that you're not happy about. I went Bijan. Surprise, surprise. Chase didn't fall to 102 this time. So what are you? I wanted to talk a lot about today, as like obviously the preseason is in action. I've got the Giants Jets on behind me, so if I keep peeking backwards, I'm just checking on my team. We got to start parsing out what's news, what's noise. Like, what are we buying into? What are we not? And so it sounds like, and maybe it's just kind of hopeful because you just picked him. But what are you thinking about the A-Chain news? And I know it just popped up maybe like an hour ago. But what's your initial reaction?
I mean, Ollie Gordon and Jalen Wright are fun little flyers later. Just
Right.
depends how early people kind of react to that in these types of leagues. I mean, normally this kind of league, like Underdog and even the DraftKings stuff, they like half of the people react early, half don't. So to be honest, I was at the end, and when I'm at one of the ends, I like to kind of go wide receiver, running back, because I feel like if I go two wide receivers, if I go two running backs, it's like people can almost, if someone's paying attention near the turn that I'm at, then someone can kind of pick against me. Say, oh, right. I know he needs, if he just drafted two running backs, he needs wide receivers. I'll get this wide receiver here and then wait. So,
yeah, and that's why it's important to pay attention to I guess people's teams, especially when you're kind of around the turn. You're thinking maybe I'm choosing between a couple of guys, but okay, he's loaded on this position, so maybe I can get the wide receiver if that's the position we're talking about after the turn, and maybe I'll get the better running back here.
Yeah.
All right, so London just went off the board. AJ Brown. I see we have a question in the comments. I'm going to wait until after this turn here so that we'll have time to digest the question and talk about it and not skip a beat as far as the draft goes. Okay, so Saquon went 107 here, and they paired him with AJ Brown. I love that. I'm willing to bet that they are going to target Hurts at right around 42, which is his ADP. Now, let's see. Up in 2 picks, we went Bijan. McConkey would be nice if he falls to 23. I really like Jonathan Taylor as well. All right. Lad McConkey it is, as Taylor went 22. This is the lowest I've seen McConkey go in any of the drafts I've been in personally.
He just, to me, like he feels like so much more of a season long where he's just safe. I'm comfortable starting him. I just don't. For me, I don't see that complete upside every time. But
I went with Amari and Hampton. I'm just gonna go with the Charger stack here. Target Herbert. I think they're going to be a good team. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Just wanted to kind of get that out of the way.
No, I love Hampton. I feel like he's gonna
be so good.
I could be wrong. He's like the Malik Neighbors to like last year's. Everyone was so in on Marvin Harrison and Malik Neighbors, and then Malik Neighbors kind of pushed his way up, but he wasn't that high. And I see parallels between Genty and Hampton to those two.
Right. Yeah, it might take a little while before they give him the range just because he's a rookie, but I think he might end up being one of those guys you just need. So let's get into the question here. And thank you so much, Kyle Siebert Audio, for tuning in. I see you're tuning in on YouTube, which is the preferred way, so you can catch all of our episodes. Make sure you can get in the chat. We appreciate it if you're on X, but hop over on YouTube as well. So the question, it looks like Kyle's in a keeper league, and he wants to know about keeping Josh Allen or Derrick Henry. It looks like there are a couple other options, but he's already kind of narrowed it down to those two. Henry or Allen. Brian, what are you thinking as far as a keeper league goes?
In a keeper league, assuming I can continually keep someone, Allen's hard to pass up. I mean, if it's,
Yeah.
I would like to know if it's the same value. Like, obviously, Derrick Henry's would be drafted higher, but to me, Allen's just like, if I can guarantee I have Allen on my team for years to come, you're gonna have a good team. He's
Yeah.
been top 3, like what, 4 or 5 years in a row.
He's kind of been he's kind of been in a quarterback that you're not upset that you ever have. He's probably who I would go with as well. It's definitely tough to fade Henry as I'm on the clock here.
Yeah, I mean,
Let's
I can kind of
go.
touch on the Henry thing.
Yeah.
He's definitely a better value. He goes higher in drafts. It's just the keeper aspect of, you're not going to continue. Like, Henry's getting to the end. Who knows when the cliff's going to hit? So I would hate myself if I missed out on that and this was his cliff and I could have had Josh Allen.
And I think that's exactly where I'm at too. We've all been wrong for years as far as betting on the end for King Henry, but it's going to happen eventually. I don't think it'll happen this year, but if you can just keep an elite quarterback in Josh Allen, then like, why don't you just do that, right? Like, that just makes the most sense. I'm sure that there's definitely some other running backs. It's a strong class, as it looks like it's 6 keepers and a dynasty player. So obviously all the rookies are in the mix. You can get a younger replacement running back for Derrick Henry a lot easier than you can get a younger replacement quarterback, I think, for Josh Allen, especially this year.
100%, yeah.
So there it is. I think it's unanimous. Josh Allen. Great question. Both great players. Can't go wrong either way. But that's where we lean, and that's why. I ended up going with Ridley and Cortland Sutton while we were talking about that trade with my 2 picks. With the starting 2 running backs in the first 3 rounds, just wanted to get a couple safe wide receivers, which I think both Sutton and Ridley are. The veteran ones for young quarterbacks should just eat volume, eat targets, have big games. As I'm high on both offenses this year as well.
Yeah, I think you're going to like my roster. So after A-Chain Thomas, I went James Cook and Tet McMillan.
Okay, I like that a lot.
The next turn. And then the following turn, I just finished and got Jalen Waddle, and Emeka Ibuka. So a lot of those guys feel like your guys.
Oh man! So you got Jalen Waddle at 60.
Yeah,
I like that. And then with the Week 17 correlation with the Bucks,
yeah, Jalen Waddle at 60, Ibuka at 61. So
you're cooking with gas. I can tell you that. And it's fun because we're drafting on total opposite sides of the board, so we'll have to, even though it's different tournaments. Like, I think we can still, the ADPs are still kind of pretty much the same. I think that we can definitely compare teams and see how they ended up from different sides of the board.
Yeah, and like I'm at a 2 running back, 4 wide receiver at the moment. I like that. Feel safe. Now it's just like, who can I potentially stack as my next? Is like what I'm looking at now.
Yeah, exactly. Probably like your quarterbacks, your tight ends, some extra receivers, like just kind of filling it out so that it makes the most sense. I am on the clock in 1 pick. I'm going to go ahead. As long as he doesn't go here, I'm going to take Tony Pollard and then see what happens at the turn with the drafter.
How do you feel about Caleb Johnson?
I'm just out on the Steelers.
Got it. Yeah,
is what it is. I think he's kind of hit or miss as he goes at 73, and I'm gonna go ahead and take Jordan Addison. He misses the first 3 weeks. We talked about this the other day. I think we picked him as well.
Yeah.
Still a strong receiver. I'm not worried about the first 3 weeks. Plausible.
He just went
strong.
I have 7th round, pick 2 for my draft.
Yeah, and that's where I took him as well. I've got 3 strong running backs, 3 strong receivers to fill up those spots in the flex. So I'll just eat the first 3 weeks with Jordan Addison here. Appreciate it, Kyle. Thanks so much again for tuning in. Make sure you follow us on YouTube or on Twitter at Ethos Fantasy NFL. Follow all of our work, our articles, Brian's projection model. All of that can be found on SportsEthos.com. Brian, what's another big piece of news you're taking from this offseason, and what are you doing with it?
I mean, the thing that I'm like trying to get my mind around is the coaching
Yeah.
changes.
Okay.
So a big thing for me is you have great offensive coordinator in Liam Cohen going to the Jags, and you have great offensive coordinator and Ben Johnson going to the Bears.
Yeah, we got to figure out what those offenses are going to look like.
Yeah, I'm annoyingly high on both because my model kind of picks and chooses an offense, and then we go from there.
Yeah.
And it's like those are two great offenses to pick and choose from. So I'm like trying to limit myself and getting super excited, but it's hard for me at the moment.
So it sounds like you're going in on those two teams quite a bit in best ball, as well as your redraft and I guess dynasty leagues. I'm sure you kind of use that as far as assessing trade value as well.
Yeah, like Brian Thomas, I'm taking little shots at like which Jags running back I like. I mean, I don't really like any of them, to be honest. It's just one of those three I feel like will be valuable. I have no clue which one, so I'll kind of spray and hope I hit. But that and then the Bears, I'm like stupid high on DJ Moore because he kind of takes that Amon Ra role, and that's super valuable. It's super safe, and it's like you have such a high floor with that. So I used to have way too much DJ Moore. I've been like trying not to draft him almost where he's been going, just so I'm not so dependent on it. But I'm very high on him.
Yeah, because your model, I'm assuming you're projecting DJ Moore to be the one in
Yeah.
Chicago, at least as far as the model goes. Do you change the model and update the model like on a weekly basis as well? Because once we get into the action and maybe things change and maybe Rome's the one, maybe later in the season Burden ends up becoming the one. Are those things that are going to change within your projection model as well?
So not the season long. So the season long one, I'm working on another update now that we have some preseason news. I kind of did it like before the preseason game started, just on whatever camp news you can get. And then I'm gonna update it now and then maybe or like I'll update it in the next week or so and then potentially right before the season starts. After that, my updates are all just the weekly model. So that model's based on Vegas over under numbers, and it takes into account the matchup you're playing, the defense you're playing. I think that model is a little bit more realistic on a week to week basis.
Okay, so it different, I guess, formulas, different things to consider for each of the format or for each of
Yeah.
the models that you do.
Yeah, because at some point it's like, does it? I mean, I guess yes, it matters season long, but if somebody gets hurt, like obviously season long changes, and you never know when they're coming back. So it's just there's way too many assumptions to make in that. So I try not to.
Mm-hmm. Okay. No, that's interesting. Very, very interesting. I'm coming up here on the clock in a couple picks. I'm going to go ahead and take my first quarterback. I'm going to take Justin Herbert here at 119 to stack with Hampton and Lad McConkey. I don't really love my picks at the previous turn. I went with Keon Coleman, or first I went with Mark Andrews and then Keon Coleman. I was just kind of stuck. Um, Baltimore throws a lot of passing touchdowns. Um, Mark Andrews is a big part of that. So I just figured lock in a decent tight end. And then Keon Coleman has been getting a lot of buzz. And this is one of the pieces that we need to figure out as far as is this news or is this noise? Keon Coleman has been getting a lot of hype around camp that he's really taken the leap. He's taken a jump. What do you think here? What are you making of Keon Coleman?
I'm getting a little piece of kind of all the Bills guys. I heard great stuff about Josh Palmer earlier in the preseason. Like people are going to score. There's going to be touchdowns. It's a good offense. So like yes, we give advice, and a lot of the advice I try to give is kind of volume based, and I have no clue in that backfield. So
With that
I'm going to
receiver
try and
room.
kind of take a shot on value where I see it, and then react very quickly if I see something in season.
Yeah,
So my goal is kind of have some exposure, and then in season, obviously this doesn't really relate to best ball, but in season I want to react quickly to get who I think is the best.
right, as far as like making trades or if someone's on like the waiver wire didn't get drafted. Once we see some tangible evidence in season of who the guy is, just act aggressively and go get him if that's your prerogative and you are going for the receiver in the Bills offense.
Yeah, in the best ball, I tend to just, wow, I see, I know Keon's kind of fallen a little bit to me. Why not? Like, he could easily outdo this, or I don't want to say he's not going to fail, because obviously people can fail, but like on that type of offense, you're going to have some boom weeks more than you would on a different, not as good offense. So it's one of those picks that I just don't feel bad about ever making.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really like Keon Coleman as a prospect. There was nothing really exciting about his first year in the NFL. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't really draft him very much. I was in a tough spot. So I thought, second year player, maybe I'm wrong. Why not? It is a high powered offense. Everybody else is hurt. Shakir's hurt. I think Palmer's coming off of an injury. So like Coleman is probably working as the one right now, at least in practice. Um, so yeah, I figure he's worthwhile. I'm gonna go ahead and take Michael Penix because I love Michael Penix. Stack him with Bijan, and then just take like a late target from the Falcons. And then as Stroud and Spears go, I'm going to go ahead and pull Cam Ward up slightly to stack with Pollard and Calvin Ridley. And I think that is a very safe, high floor, high ceiling quarterback room.
There you go. Yeah, I'm in the process of my pick comes up in 7, and I have one QB. The best one at the moment is Caleb Williams. I kind of did what I've told you I do a lot, is just Caleb, Colston, Loveland back-to-back at the turn. So I get that stack. I have Brian Thomas Jr., I have A-Chain, and I have Waddle. So I'm kind of going after Trevor Lawrence, and definitely want Tua with this build.
Yeah, especially I know you said you took Ibuka. I'm assuming you missed out on Baker Mayfield then, or just
I was looking at him and he fell, or he got picked right before me, so I kind of panicked and didn't get him.
No, well,
it was one of those. I don't know what to do. All right, I see Caleb and Colston right here. I'm just going for it.
Yeah, no, I like that. We talked about that a little bit the other day. It's definitely a high ceiling. It's a high ceiling combination at the onesie position, and it sounds like you've got a plan to tack on a couple more here. I was kind of hoping to see Kyle Pitts. Not that I thought he would fall all the way back to me, but that would have been nice. I don't believe, outside of Andrews, I don't have a tight end, and I would like to add a second one here relatively soon. I guess I could probably go with Chigakonkwo a little bit later, though, to go with Cam Ward. You kind of talked about that being another one of your favorite little late round tight end quarterback stacks. You talked about that last week, I think.
Yeah, he's a guy I'm just like, they're so cheap, and it's a cheap stack that, like, I don't know where he's going to end up, but I feel like tight ends are good targets for rookies, and he's a super athletic. Like, the tight ends that break out are normally the super athletic ones.
Mm-hmm.
It's not to say it's easy, but it's kind of easy to find your Hunter Henrys of the world where it's just volume based. But like the ones who truly make a difference tend to be the great athletes, and Chig is one of them. And now he has a number 1 overall pick who you would hope has ceiling.
Yeah, I'm with you. He's definitely an athletic. He's definitely an athletic type of tight end. One of those guys that has the talent that you want to take a bet on late, especially if you've kind of punted tight end or just looking for a late second one. Has the ceiling. Cam Ward, I've seen some nice clips of him so far this offseason, although I haven't gotten to catch any of those games yet. I'm going to take Rico Dowdle with my first pick because I definitely think that I'll get Okonkwo right after the turn, and I want to lock in my 4th running back. Dowdle is a guy I really believe in.
Yeah. Yeah, I see you end up with him a lot.
I'm sitting at like 40, 43, 44% Rico Dowdle.
What's your, like, I don't know, sell me a pen on this guy. What is it for Rico?
So last season he was 1,000-yard rusher in a Dallas offense where the offensive line wasn't as good as it usually is. And he hit 1,000 yards and was the running back 22 despite only taking the reins like halfway through the year. He's on an offense now in Carolina that's ascending. Um, Dave Canals, I think it's pretty clear they want to use two running backs. They drafted Jonathan Brooks high last year. They drafted him in the second round. They It obviously didn't work out with the injuries. He took a little bit
Yep.
longer, I think, than they probably expected. Immediately, he comes back. They immediately try to start, using him, incorporating him. Tears his ACL again. Chuba Hubbard was great. I think that they want to, like I said, use that second running back this year. They were one of the top rushing offenses last year. I don't expect that to change. And we saw what happened with Chuba Hubbard last year, who went in the 150s, and when he got a chance to take over, like he was a top 15 running back, I think, off the top of my head last year. So you also have the contingency upside of that. So I just don't see a downside of taking Rico Dowdle in the back half of your drafts.
Yeah. I mean, and I feel like Chuba, he did well with all the volume he was given, but like, I don't want to say, did he deserve that volume? I don't know, but like, it didn't seem like they wanted to give him all of that volume.
Yeah, and I'll give you that. I think Dallas was hoping that Zeke still had something left, and I don't know if it was more they legitimately thought that he was better than Rico Dowdle, or more of like, he's one of, I don't want to say an all franchise great, but as far as recent history, I think certainly and a fan favorite of this generation. So maybe it was a little just hope that he can provide a little something, but I mean, it definitely didn't look great. I can tell you
Yeah.
that. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. I'm gonna go with Jalen Coker. I know it's kind of doubling up on a Carolina offense without the quarterback, but one is late enough, and two, I think Coker's gonna end up being the wide receiver too down there in Carolina.
I really like looking at his peripheral numbers at the end of last season. He was like a guy I said, like, let me keep an eye on him. They kept adding receivers and they have people coming back to health. It's like, I feel like he gives me like Wan'Dale Robinson vibes.
Wan'Dale Robinson, I think he's a good football player, but he's a guy that he shouldn't get as much volume as he does. He should kind of be like your third down or like possession receiver. Like, hey, like we need 5, 6, 7 yards, move the chains. We had a penalty. We need to kind of get back, back into position as far as down and distance. I think he's great for that, but I don't see him doing a lot else. And that's where I think that Jalen Coker could separate himself. As his, sorry, hold on, I'm trying to gather my thoughts here. I think he had a pretty good average yards per reception, whereas Wandale just didn't. So I think that they're a little bit different in as far as that aspect and what they can do, and as far as what their ceilings could be.
Yeah. Yeah, he gives me the vibe of like if you give him the volume, he's a pro's pro. He'll get it done. It's just, is he going to earn that volume over everyone else? I don't know. Because like they have a bunch of like okay to average targets on that team. Some of them are young, so like they have upside. So it's just, I don't know who's going to get it all. Not to say they're like loaded, but they're pretty deep, I'd say, with like pass catchers that could pop out.
Yeah, you're not wrong. They have obviously Tet, the 8th overall pick, who they're expecting. He's probably just immediately their one, right? They still have Thielen, who is serviceable. Leggett was a first round pick last year. So yeah, I mean, they definitely have guys that they are expecting to be able to rely on. I guess I just don't think that Xavier Leggett is going to be one of those guys. So I see Coker jumping in pretty easily. And then I think it's just a matter of time before the younger guy shows he's just kind of got more juice, more potential than the old man, which in this case is Adam Thielen. Although he still is, going to be very reliable in his own right. Brian, did you finish up your draft? Are you all completed there on your end?
No, I'm still fit. I'm about to have my 15th round turn. Weird.
Oh my goodness! So these drafts went very differently as far as
speed.
Speed goes.
You started out.
Yeah. Frizz, thanks for joining. Appreciate it. Make sure you follow us on X at Ethos Fantasy NFL. I'm at AQ Fresh. Brian's at Brian _shade_ fantasy. Excuse me. Again, appreciate you jumping in. So, Brian, we'll talk about my team for a little bit while you finish up, and then we can kind of compare the different strategies from the opposite sides of the board. So I went with a 3-5-8-2 build. I went Justin Herbert, Michael Penix, Cam Ward. Running backs were Bijan Robinson, Amari and Hampton, Tony Pollard, Rico Dowdle, and Keaton Mitchell. My wide receivers were Ladd McConkey, Calvin Ridley, Cortland Sutton, Jordan Addison, Keon Coleman, Christian Kirk, Jalen Coker, and Ray McLeod. And then my tight ends were Mark Andrews and Chigo Okonkwo. And I can tell you, I definitely would have liked to have the opportunity to add a third tight end. I mean, I did have the opportunity.
Yeah.
I was going to take Theo Johnson. He was probably the last tight end that I actually, really liked, I guess. So once he went off the board at 213, I thought, it's never a bad idea to add an eighth receiver and might as well tack on Ray McLeod to stack with Michael Penix, not knowing how severe Darnell Mooney's injury is at this point.
That's a pick that I am definitely coming away with a lot more just because, I loved the idea of the second option on that second wide receiver option on that Falcons team.
Yeah.
So I was very high on Mooney, and now if I don't know that he's playing and maybe Ray McLeod is that number 2 role, like, I don't know, I could get 2 weeks out of him to start the season. Who knows? Like, I just think that's a solid bet to go for now.
Yeah, I do too. And another guy that is, has a really, really deep name that has been in the news a little bit making plays is Casey Washington.
Yep.
I'm actually going to look up his name here because I don't know too much more than his name and the fact that he's been making some plays, I guess, in camp. It looks like he was on the team last year. That's pretty much all we have on him as far as this is concerned, but he's definitely a name I'm keeping an eye on. He only had 1 catch last year, so it's not like he really did a whole lot. But just another name I'm keeping an eye on just in case Mooney misses time. It really feels like then Casey Washington would be that third man up, which could still definitely be viable, I think, in that Falcons offense.
Yeah, Ray had some weeks even with both of the receivers playing, so.
Right. So he's a name to keep an eye on as well. We have another question here. We can take a look at while you're finishing up your draft, Brian, as well.
Yep.
It's a single quarterback dynasty league. Thanks so much, Rob, for the question, for tuning in, listening. Bo Nix, Kyler Murray are the quarterback options. Achane, Bijan, Tyrone Tracy, then McBride, Kraft, Neighbors, Harrison Jr., Thomas Jr., and Higgins. So we get to keep 6 here. So why don't we is there anyone that just stands out to you that is a must keep? Because there's definitely quite a few guys for me here that I'm really trying to hold on to. But what are your
to me, I think this 6 is easy. It's just, I guess Higgins is the only one that's kind of on the border for me. I want the second-year receivers and Neighbors, Harrison, and Thomas Jr. I want my 2 running backs and Achane and Bijan, and then I get my stud tight end and McBride. Like, I'd be pumped with that.
Yeah, that's that's about right. There's not a whole lot to argue with there. Achane and Bijan are going to be monsters. McBride is like having a low end wide receiver 1 in your tight end position, which is really just a cheat code. Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. are just great. I think you can go either way with Marvin Harrison Jr. or T. Higgins. I think it kind of just depends on who you think is going to be better. But I definitely understand when you're keeping six, you definitely want to think about age, and not that Higgins is older; he's really kind of right in the prime of his career. But Harrison Jr. is younger, so you like to think that that ceiling could be there, could be a little bit higher. No interest in keeping either Bo Nix or Kyler to stack with Trey McBride.
I feel like in a single QB league, like there'll be others that hit the. I might be able to get them back either way, like in the draft. Like I just think none of them are major difference makers to me that I don't think I can find a serviceable QB back in the draft or however that process works in your league. I just
Yeah.
don't think you can replace those 3 wide receivers, that 1 tight end, and the 2 running backs.
I'm 100% with you. I like stacks, so Kyler with Trey McBride is definitely enticing to me, but ultimately, you could probably, if that's your prerogative, you could probably draft Kyler Murray again. I can't imagine he's going to go within the first handful of picks, so you could probably even take it with like your first or second pick again if that's what you really want to do. But yeah, so it sounds like Brian and I are pretty much in lockstep. Echan, Bijan, Neighbors, Thomas Jr., Marvin Harrison Jr., and then Trey McBride. Although I can see an argument for Higgins, but maybe the ceiling is just a little bit higher for Harrison since he's younger and is the one, and we all know about his dad and Hall of Fame talent. So some of that is
who would you give up if you wanted to get Kyler, like guarantee Kyler? That's my mindset. It's like I just couldn't. I don't think I could justify giving up Echan or.
Now that I think about it, though, do you want to keep 2 Cardinals and not Kyler Murray? Like that's probably like 70%, 60% of the Cardinals offense, right? I think because you got to factor in Connor, Benson, and then obviously Kyler's rushing ability too. So that's probably at least half, I would say, as we keep getting lower.
I get that on your part. I would think like, okay, if this is a draft where it's like, all right, now we start at round 7. If you were like really wanted that stack, you can just like the 6 people we already said they would go higher than that. They're going to be drafted one of the first people off the board, assuming everyone else has pretty good people to keep. So like no one else is going to value Kyler as high as you will in drafting. So you could get him in that 7th round or the 1st round if you really wanted that stack. That would be a bet I'd be willing to do.
And if you weren't, if like that's not something you were interested in as far as stacking Kyler with McBride and Harrison Jr., would you think a little harder about keeping Higgins over Harrison Jr. or even McBride, or are you still just going to go ahead and keep the 2 Cardinals? Just the guys that you see as you said was a pretty easy decision for you.
I mean, I think Higgins is better than Harrison right now. It's just if it's dynasty and you can keep keeping them, Harrison I would value a little bit higher. McBride, he's very valuable to me, and especially in a keeper league where it's like you're not going to see many good tight ends unless you just get lucky and hit on somebody, hit the draft like you would with McBride. McBride to me is like I need him. Harrison, I could take the argument of I don't want to be Cardinals based. Sure, I'd take that bet against him. Neighbors and Thomas Jr. look better in their rookie years than him, and Higgins is healthy better than him.
Okay. Just wanted to see your thoughts there. I thought I didn't really catch it at first until the very end, and I was like, oh, like maybe that changes things a little bit, but it doesn't sound like it does to you too much. I actually think I might lean keeping Higgins over Harrison Jr. with that in mind, but I don't think you can go wrong with either decision.
Yeah, I agree with
that. Frizz jumped in with another question here. Just started a standard single quarterback PPR draft. Good luck. The first pick, and they're in round 4s. Uh, Obviously, when Jamar Chase 101, and then it looks like he came around and took Jonathan Taylor and Kyron Williams. I guess there's probably not a question, maybe more so just talking about the draft. I like that. I think that anchoring your receiver core, obviously, Jamar Chase is the clear 101 this year. Jonathan Taylor should get a ton of volume. And Kyron Williams, I guess it kind of depends on what you make of the Stafford news as far as his injury goes with his back, and what you think that offense could look like if he's going to play or if he's not. Obviously, Brian, we're not medical experts, and so we don't have any sort of read on what the back injury looks like. But I'm a bit nervous about the Rams offense at this point in time.
So I guess I definitely hear that, and if I'm playing devil's advocate for you, Kyle Shanahan did perfectly fine with Jimmy G. Jimmy G was serviceable. Their offense ran just fine. Sean McVay's maybe a step up or at least the same level as Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, they're definitely both masterminds.
So I hear what you're saying. I'm scared too, but that is kind of my devil's advocate of I think it could still work out.
Yeah, I think it could still work out in the fact that there could be some pieces in some successful weeks, but and I'm not saying you're disagreeing, but it's definitely a downgrade as a whole going from Matt Stafford to Jimmy Garoppolo. Frizz justified it. He went with Kyron over James Cook, Hampton, or Walker. I'm just trying to get some solid running backs now. Would you have went with one of the other options over Kyron? Looking at it, I know you've been talking up James Cook. You talked him up on Thursday. You took him in your draft. So that's one, and you kind of said that you love Hampton. So I'm curious if you would have maybe taken one of those guys instead.
Hampton I like way more if it's a best ball. I would say Cook I do like more. I just think he's on a better offense, and to me he's kind of just as safe. Cook has some more competition. I would say with the way you built your team, you have Jamar, stud wide receiver, and you have two running backs. Again, this isn't best ball. You have two running backs where you are comfortable starting them every week. You know they're going to be super high volume. You know that you're going to get what you want out of a startable running back. I mean, yeah, everyone has ups and down weeks, but you're never going to doubt starting them. And now you can just hammer wide receiver at the turn. You can try to get Burrow to get that stack, then just hammer a bunch of wide receivers. And if one of them gets hurt, you probably weren't going to win your league anyway. So yes, I would still not get zero running backs moving forward, but you're safe at running back. My guess is you're starting two running backs. And then if you just hammer and hammer flex or hammer and hammer the wide receivers, I think you can have a really good setup on this team, especially if you can get that Burrow stack. So I don't hate it from a safety standpoint. I am way more willing to go safe in just a season-long league versus you don't really need to be safe in a best ball because you have so many options that you don't have to pick who's starting. But when you actually have to weekly choose who you're putting in your starting lineup, having Kyron and JT, you're feeling great.
Yeah, it's hard to argue there. With best ball, you're really chasing ceiling. Obviously, you want to build in some safety, but you're more so chasing ceiling in best ball. Whereas in redraft, it is a perfectly viable strategy to say, hey, look, obviously, whatever your scoring settings are, we'll just say 100 for even numbers. You average 100 points a week. I want to build a team that I'm scoring between 95 and 110. I feel like that it'll keep me competitive. That's a perfectly fine strategy. And I think with JT and Kyron Williams, obviously they both certainly have a ceiling as they've proven. But they're, like you said, they're both such volume-based running backs, whereas James Cook isn't. James Cook didn't even play half the snaps last season. But it's the way they use him and what he does on the field that makes him still such a successful NFL player and fantasy asset. Hampton, I think, is going to win that role at some point. But I saw a blurb, I think it was within the past week or two, that the coaches have kind of said, like, regardless of if Najee Harris plays, like, we're splitting the carries week 1. So they're adamant, at least early in the season, from obviously all the coach speak and whatnot, and that's all we have to go off of at the moment, that they are going to play multiple running backs. They do not care about our best ball teams. They do not care about our fantasy football teams. They want to make sure that Amari and Hampton doesn't get run into the ground in the first 8 games of his rookie season.
Yeah.
So I completely get it as well. I think overall, I think Hampton probably ends up being the better running back, but I think Kyron is probably the better pick because we just don't know exactly how the Chargers are going to deploy their running backs. Whereas we have a history with Sean McVay. He uses one guy, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So,
and they paid him too. Like, he's locked in.
Yeah. So while I definitely do like the other running back options, I don't like Walker, but that's okay. Yeah, I think Kyron and JT make for a very good running back room that you've got to be thrilled about it.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
how did your team end up? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I was going to go to.
Oh, perfect.
Running backs, A-Chain, James Cook, Joe Mixon, Jaylen Warren, and then a little bit of insurance for A-Chain. I got Ollie Gordon.
Okay, I like that. Ollie Gordon's been looking good. You've been buying the Joe Mixon dip. We can talk about why in a minute. Finish up with what your team.
Wide receivers: Brian Thomas Jr., Tet McMillan, Jalen Waddle, Emeka Egbuka, Josh Palmer, Dante Thornton, the Raiders rookie, and Ray McLeod.
Nice.
And then tight ends. I've done this way too many times, but I did the rookie trio of Colston Loveland, Mason Taylor, and Elijah Arroyo.
I think it's a good trio. It feels really tough to bet on 3 rookie tight ends. Historically, it's a position that takes a little bit longer. Obviously, we've seen Sam Laporta 2 years ago. We saw Brock Bowers. I almost said Brock Purdy. But we saw Brock Bowers last year. They kind of broke the mold. This is supposed to be a really talented, really deep tight end class. So that probably helps you feel a little bit more comfortable in taking 3 rookies, right?
Yep. And then I went with your college studs who are still need to prove it at quarterback. I have Caleb Williams, Trevor Lawrence, and Tua.
Okay.
So I have a Caleb stacked with Colston Loveland, Caleb Williams. I have Trevor stacked with Brian Thomas Jr. And then I have Tua with A-Chain, if you count Ollie Gordon and Jalen Waddle. So, I have my stacks.
We count the running backs.
Yep.
We count the running backs with our stacks. Sounds like a pretty good team. I wish we could put it up on the board, but that's all right. What did you say it was?
3-5-7.
3-5-7-3. I like doing those as well, especially if you feel really good at running back. So talk to me about Joe Mixon. We don't know what's going on. I'm staying away from him. But you bought him last time too, I think.
Yeah, I don't trust Chubb. Damian Pierce. If Damian Pierce was the guy, they never would have got Mixon.
You're right.
I don't really trust Woody Marks.
No, even with all the draft capital they spent on him. At least not this year. You're just not trusting him this year.
Yeah, so then it's just like, all right, like, who's going to be the guy? That he had way too many touchdowns last year, great. But, he's my 3rd running back. I realized kind of early I'm not going to be too heavy on running back. So I have A-Chain, I have James Cook, I have Joe Mixon, I have Jaylen Warren. To me, there's kind of 4 pretty safer guys. Jaylen Warren I love, and with the PPR, I just don't. I asked you about Kevin Johnson previously. I just don't. I think Jaylen Warren's the guy there still. Yeah. And I think he gets the valuable touches. So I feel pretty safe there. And Joe Mixon kind of continues the safeness at running back. And then I can just go a bit heavier on QB and tight end and then get my 7 wide receivers.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely feels like a good team. Joe Mixon, I just don't. I was fading him anyway, I think. And then just the injury, I'm just going to kind of be hands off. But it's one of those things that it could pay off. He's definitely dropped in ADP quite a bit. So
Yeah.
end up being a pretty valuable pick if he ends up missing no time or just a couple weeks in the beginning of the year. Like that could end up being one of the picks of the summer.
I mean, he was 84. Like, I don't hate it there.
No, it just depends on your risk tolerance, which for you, it sounds like it's pretty higher on a guy like Joe Mixon, who's always been consistent, reliable, feels like a solid third. If he wasn't injured, it's a great third running back. I just think that adds, obviously, the question.
Yep.
Uh, Frizz, obviously, still in his draft. Um, if Joe Burrow, he looks like he wants to target Joe Burrow. You mentioned stacking him with Chase. Otherwise, double up on wide receiver, probably a good move. I love Sutton. Devonta Smith is kind of hit or miss for me. You're the Eagles guy, so you can talk about Devonta Smith, but Sutton I think would be a great pick.
I don't know about Devonta. I think he is a great wide receiver. I think he could be a wide receiver one on at least half the teams in the league. The issue is the Eagles run a very RPO based like game. So in RPO, it's you have your preset read, and a lot of the times that preset read is AJ Brown. AJ Brown on a slant, or I hand it off. But there's a lot of high upside if AJ Brown gets hurt. Like if ever one of AJ Brown, Dallas Goedert, Devonta Smith are hurt, I'm hammering. I'm trading as much as I can for the other two because they're not super pass heavy. I think it'll increase a little, but it's not that much to spread between three of them, and AJ Brown deserves it. And Devonta will have his spike games, but he's not as safe as I would love for a wide receiver too. But he's one of the most talented guys you can get. And
well, it would be his wide receiver 3, just for clarity. But yeah, I think I kind of feel the same way about Devonta Smith. His ceiling is definitely capped within that offense. It's a good thing it's a condensed offense because it's in the passing game. It's like you said, it's AJ Brown who gets like a 30+% target share, deservedly so, and it's Devonta Smith and it's Dallas Goedert, and then obviously they'll throw it to Saquon Barkley as well.
Yeah, like I remember looking, it was like high 20s for AJ Brown, low 20s for Devonta. Dallas Goedert was like 15 to 20% target share, and then like the running backs there were 2 running backs with at least like 5 to 6, and then it's like nothing else anywhere really.
Yeah. And that's what makes the Philly offense so great for fantasy at the end of the day, honestly. It's predictable in that the guys are going to be involved. Obviously, anything can happen any given week.
Yeah.
But the core guys that are going to be involved, and that makes you feel comfortable starting them on any given week because you at least know they're going to be out there, they're going to be involved. And that's the best way to get points, right? Is to be on the field. So,
Eagles he made a comment. I'm so high on DJ Moore. I would go him over both of them. But if you could get DJ Moore Sutton, I'd like that more. But I know I'm overly high on DJ Moore. I went to University of Maryland. He's a Terp, so like I got that going for me too. Like I love DJ Moore if you can get him there.
I like DJ Moore, the talent. I just have some questions about his role on the offense. I'm sure that he's going to have some great weeks, but I have some questions about what's going to happen in Chicago under Ben Moore, or not Ben Moore, Ben Johnson, excuse me.
Yep.
But I also don't. I mean, we talked about it obviously during the best ball stream. I'm out on the Steelers, so I'm going to pass on DK. It's Arthur Smith for me.
Yep.
Outside of AJ Brown when he was the offensive coordinator in Tennessee, AJ Brown was still awesome because he's AJ Brown. He was obviously unlocked once he left Arthur Smith, and we saw the same thing happen with Drake London. I think he was wide receiver 40 something, and then Arthur Smith is out last year, and now he's a top 10 wide receiver. So I'm not ever really going to be excited about any wide receivers in an Arthur Smith offense.
Yeah, like my ideal 2 picks for you are Joe Burrow, DJ Moore. That's me. You're probably Joe Burrow, Sutton.
Yeah, I'd go Joe Burrow, Sutton. If you want me to be honest, I would go Sutton in a second. I would just double down on wide receiver. Sutton would be one of them. we can get into the weeds about whether it's Smith, Moore, DK, as it seems like for his legs. We can get into the weeds about which one, but I would double tap. I would double tap wide receiver. I just
You
feel like
wouldn't.
I like the mid round quarterbacks, and I think I would look for a stack elsewhere. But I think Burrow is a fine pick as well. Like I
Hmm.
like if we were co-managing a team and you're like, hey, like for me, like it's Burrow inside. Like if you were like, Burrow is a slam dunk for me. Like yeah, like that's cool. Like I wouldn't
Yeah.
fight it. It's a fine pick, just not my preference.
I mean, if we were co-managing, I would say that's fine. Let's just end up with Anthony Richardson as my second QB.
I think we could settle on that. I saw a clip today on Twitter, and man, he threw a nice ball. I forget the receiver's name. It's a name that if you say it, I would know it. He's been around the league for a little while.
Doolin?
No, no, it was a white guy.
Fair
I
enough.
just can't. He was number 6 for the call. I don't know, but either way,
Yeah.
it was it was a pretty ball, and it just like unlocked in my mind the upside that Anthony Richardson does have
Yeah.
when he does put the ball in the right spot, right? Because he's got a big arm. So yeah, I think maybe I'll start drafting him a little more. It seems like every time I'm on stream with you or talking to you, I noticed I always end up with Anthony Richardson.
He, if as a second QB, to me, he's perfect. And if you want to wait, that's the upside I want.
Yeah, it's just tough. I think for me, it's tough. And so for best ball, like absolutely right. Like I said,
Yeah.
I'm coming around to it more now. I just needed to see him play again, I guess, which
Hmm.
I guess is what it is ultimately. But in like managed leagues, it's probably it's a tougher sell for me because he's not going to play 17 games. Obviously, hardly anybody plays 17 games, but he's not going to play 17 games because I think that they're going to go to Dane. I think they're going to flip flop all
Yeah.
season between them because of whether it's injuries or performance or whatever the case is. Like, so it would be a tougher sell for me to take Anthony Richardson in like a managed league, like a redraft league this year.
See,
Um,
I would almost argue I would rather him in that because then I know I can drop him. If he sucks, he's done, And it's like it's not like the 12th round. I'm worried about that dropping a 12th rounder. In a best ball, I need him with 3 quarterbacks because I need at least 2 I know are going to play unless they get hurt, which you can't really bet on that. But that's my
sure.
mindset there.
See, I'm happy, and I'll just kind of say this, and then
Yeah.
there's 2 more comments, and then we'll probably hop on out of here. I lost my train of thought. I don't even know what I was going to say now.
Yeah. I
Anthony
mean,
Richardson, best ball. I lost it. It's
best
okay.
ball versus season long. Whether you
Yeah.
seem to like more best ball.
I was going to say, because you talked about, you said you feel like you need Anthony Richardson as your third quarterback. I'm comfortable with Anthony Richardson as my second quarterback if I go with an elite quarterback in like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, if Jaden Daniels is your cup of tea. And I even throw Burrow in that elite quarterback, even though he goes quite a bit later in best ball drafts than the other 4. I'm comfortable with Richardson as my 2 in best ball if I have one of those top 5 guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't disagree if I get those top 5.
Right, but obviously, if it's any deeper than that, he's got to be the third, right?
Yeah.
So Frizz says there's James Conner and David Montgomery. There are 3 flex spots, so it would be his third running back. But the 3 flex spots means that there's just a lot more flexibility, if you will, as far as what you can do with your
Who you start.
roster.
Yeah.
So I'd probably still go at least 1 receiver, and then if you want to go Joe Burrow, great. I imagine we're probably past your pick now, unless you're just in like the slowest live draft of all time. Nino, thanks for joining. Wouldn't hate that Connor pick. So it looks like you've got a couple people telling you a couple different things. If you haven't already made those picks, or maybe these guys are available coming around on your next picks. Nino, you did pop in a question here beforehand, and I want to get to that, and then we'll probably hop on out of here. Frizz did say it's a 4-hour slow draft, like 4-hour timer for a slow draft. So they must be moving a little quick for a slow draft. But anyway, Nino wants to know, is Gene T a must pick at 12? Or would you stack wide receivers such as like Nico Collins, Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr.? I assume maybe Amon-Ra St. Brown unless he's already picked. Just kind of like those guys that kind of go around the turn. I'll start here. I mean, for me, I'm going to go Neighbors. I love Malik Neighbors. He's my wide receiver for this year. I just think he's going to hit another level with competent quarterback play and just another year in the league. I mean, all these guys are great. I like Gene T though. I have a hard time, I think, with FOMO when it comes to like these like generational like rookie running backs, right? Like we saw Ezekiel Elliott do it a couple of years ago, or a couple of years ago. It was what, like 10 years ago now.
Yep.
When he was a rookie, he had an incredible season. Saquon did it. He had an incredible season. Brees Hall was on his way to an incredible season before he tore his ACL. Like it's so hard to temper expectations for guys like that because like you just think and ultimately know that they are going to be so good in the NFL that it's hard to not just want to take them their rookie season. So I would go Neighbors. Brian, what would you do to pair with Neighbor? Like say we just agree on Neighbors. Like what would you do with the second?
So just to kind of like poop on the parade, I also thought Clyde Edwards-Helaire was going to be the man. I spent way too much on him in an auction his rookie year, and he burned me. So like I don't think Genty's that. To me, it's a toss up between Genty and BTJ, but I have Nico and Neighbors way higher. I have Nico as my wide receiver 4, so in my rankings, and then Neighbors I just think is better than them too. So I would go Nico, Neighbors, and then if you want to hop on that rookie running back train, I don't blame you over BTJ. Realistically, I don't really think Nico and Neighbors, at least all the drafts I've been, I don't think they're going to last. So if I left the turn at 112 and I got BTJ and Genty, I'd be happy.
I mean, any combination of these 4 players, I'd be perfectly happy with, right? Like you can't really go wrong. Sounds like we actually do agree on Neighbors, though, honestly. And then, did you say you would go Nico or Brian Thomas Jr.?
So I would go Nico over Neighbors. I'd go Nico, then Neighbors, and then I'd go. I'm a toss up between BTJ and Genty.
I guess I'm just assuming it's a 12-team league and you kind of have the back-to-back picks. I guess it could be a 14, 16-team league. And if that's the case, then it sounds like you're going to pick between Nico and Neighbors, and you're just going to have to make that decision for yourself. But if it's at the turn, I mean, can't really be mad at Malik Neighbors and Nico Collins at the turn.
No.
I'd be perfectly fine with that. I would say just as this is the special in the room edition of Fantasy NFL Today, where we try to focus on best ball a little bit. Happy to answer all these questions regardless, but Nico Neighbors, little week 17 stack,
there you go.
if you will. So if you want to look at that for your managed leagues and say, hey, look, you know, I'm going to get to week 17. Obviously, in your redraft leagues, that's also where the money's made is week 17. If you play for money, of course, or whatever prize bragging rights you play for, like that's where the honor and the glory, we can say, is still week 17, even in redraft. So like you want to play it like I'm going to play it like I'm getting there, and I'm going to have a stack on a game that I'm hoping could really just be a shootout, and both Neighbors and GT go off and carry you to the promised land. But that's probably more of a best ball scenario. I'd probably go with, I think, like we said, Neighbors and Nico, I think would be really good.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, I just had pick 12 in my best ball draft. I spoke about this a little earlier. I like not being predictable when I'm at the turn.
Yeah.
I mean, if Nico and Neighbors are there, you have to go them too. They're just, to me, a tier above. But like, say you have one of them are gone. I don't hate the idea of I now have a stud wide receiver. I have a stud running back. Next time at the turn, the people in front of me they have to go based on value. They can't say, hey, I need like I know he just went 2 wide receivers. He needs a running back, so I'm going to take this running back right before he picks. They don't know what you're going to do.
Somebody else playing the kind of the ADP game, if you will. The will he fall to me? Yeah, seeing you need a running back, maybe the guy in front of you says, "Well, I'll take the running back I want," and then yeah. So I think that's a fair way to look at it as well. Let's see here. Oh, no problem. I don't mind staying on and answering another question. I know. I feel so old. I said Zeke was a couple of years ago. Yeah, I guess Brian and I are split on Nico and Neighbors, but again, if it's a 12-team league, just take both. Or like if you want to say what Brian said, be a little unpredictable, take GT and take your favorite of Neighbors and Nico. But yeah, we kind of said
I couldn't pass up those two if they're right there. Even if I love Genty, I think those guys are a tier above.
Yeah, even when you try to be different, you can go in trying to be different, like you said, and making it unpredictable. Sometimes the board just tells you what to do, though. At the end of the day, right? Like it's hard to pass up those two guys because then, I mean, you can really, assuming you only start 2 wide receivers, you could even like just wait a little while and kind of fill up on running back, and then maybe one of the onesie positions before you come back to wide receiver again.
Yeah, in worst case, you just go 0 RB if you don't like any of the running backs that fall.
Right. Yeah, like that's always definitely a viable strategy. And then you can even got some trade ammo for in season. Try to get a running back. So okay. We're a little over an hour. Brian, I appreciate it. This is the 3rd time you've been on in 2 weeks. You are clearly just a best ball bro now.
I got the itch and it's still itching.
Can't stop scratching it. Well, we appreciate you being here. We appreciate everybody that's tuned in. I think we've kind of given all of our handles and where to follow us and all that stuff. Plenty. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Next week I'm going to be out of town on Thursday, so we're gonna be doing our in the room draft on a different day. Not entirely sure yet, but we'll make sure to let you know whenever we're going to schedule that for next week. But until then, happy drafting, everybody.
Best of luck.